Okay, you can start whenever you're ready. Can you see the whiteboard?
You would have to be very
Awesome.
Great. Okay, cool.
Well, hello. You can come. I can move.
I have been on there.
Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? I hope you guys are enjoying the conference. This is my first year, so I'm very excited to be here. My name is Cindy DEARBORN. I'm the Director of Education for the Huntington Museum of Art. And thank you for joining me for this presentation about our educational programs called Museum Making Connections. The Huntington Museum of Art works to ensure access to the arts for all West Virginians and all who reside in or visit the region. The museum strives to be a welcoming place of respite, creativity, and education for the community, including those that visit, volunteer, and work at the institution. I just felt it was important to say that. These challenging times we have, it just feels like we should all be on the same kind of page. So I'm going to talk about our programming, go through a lot of different slides, a lot of images. I feel it's always kind of fun to show different images. I'm going to start with a little history of the museum and show some old slides that are really kind of fun, and hopefully have some stories. And if you guys have any questions throughout, just please feel free to ask. I mean, we can always take questions at the end, but if something comes up that you want to know, burning desire to know, just let me know. So, thank you. All right. So this is a really fun photo from the old times. This is the property, the site where the museum is built, and this was one of the first signs that was put up. And so the Huntington Galleries were incorporated in 1947 by a group of citizens who were interested in upgrading the city's cultural offerings by creating a cultural institution. The gallery sought to house an art gallery, run children's workshops, to be a bird sanctuary, and to be an arboretum. The concept to enrich the lives of all the people was critical to the success of the project. The most serious effort to upgrade the city's cultural offerings came from the American Association of University Women. They developed a project that would supplement the work of public schools using school facilities to teach and host exhibits. I just love how they're all gathered here at the table. So this effort became known as the Fun School. And so they would go into schools, they would bring different artifacts with them, they would talk to the kids, show them programs, teach them things, run workshops. And so these school visits continued, and they also were trying to raise awareness of this idea to build a museum. So opening day came in November 9th, 1952. It was a grand affair. More than 2,500 people came out to see the galleries. Speeches and remarks were made by the mayor, the governor of West Virginia, the director of the Cincinnati Museum, and the board president, all thanking and touting the work done by volunteers, the community, and business leaders to create the institution, which was to be a public institution for every citizen. It was really important that they stress that. In fact, part of the money that was to be raised for the museum in the initial, I guess, charter, the money had to be raised by the community to build the museum. And so the community, I think they estimated it was going to take about $1 million to build the museum. Is that right? I'm going to keep looking to Liz. Liz is my boss. And so they got money from different business leaders, but they still had to raise, you know, maybe $250,000, $200,000. And so the community was able to kick in about 100,000 of that, but they ended up having to take a loan for the remaining. But they really wanted that buy-in from the community from the very beginning. So over the years, the museum continued to expand. Today, we have 3 permanent galleries, 5 temporary spaces, a plant conservatory, an auditorium, studio spaces, and nearly 2 miles of hiking trails, all situated on our 50 acres. Our collection of art is nearly 17,000 pieces, ranging from glass to antique firearms, Near Eastern art, American Impressionism, Haitian art, and so very much more. In fiscal year 2024, the museum served 38,100 people. Over 17,000 of these people was through our educational initiatives called Museum Making Connections. And I do have a copy. This is a report card. I know it's a little fuzzy. We put out annually that just sort of recaps all the things that we do within a year of works of art, artists that we work with, how many pieces of art we've shown, we've collected, educational numbers. And I do have those copies up here if anybody wants to take one. You're welcome to it. And So museum making connections. So while each of the components of museum making connections has a very specific objective and audience, the pieces work in unison to enrich the lives of all the people in the region by building a culture of creativity in our community. And so there are 9 main components. They are after school, arts and medicine, artworks, classes and workshops, community events, Saturday kids art, summer camps, tours, and the tri-state elementaries. And so we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into each one of those. So after school. After school is really fun. I get the privilege of teaching after school kids. I do it every other week at one of our local elementary schools here in West Virginia. And the kids are always excited to see me. There's one girl that I just get these giant hugs from every week. It's so cute. She just looks forward to seeing me and probably more doing the art and getting to work with the art projects and art materials, but it's really fun to say that she just gives me big giant hugs. So equipped with materials and supplies, HMA teaching artists and staff travel to regional after-school centers throughout the school year and guide students through art lessons and activities. Today, we currently serve 4 locations in West Virginia and Ohio. Studies have shown that participation in after-school programs can improve academic performance, improve classroom behavior, reduce drug use and criminal behavior, and encourage positive health outcomes. This initiative also indirectly supports the local school systems and working parents by not only providing structured activities for students, but by also providing access to art education in an area where such opportunities could be rare. Not all of it, we're fortunate because we are in Cabell County and all of our schools have art teachers, elementary, middle school, and high school. But not all of our surrounding counties actually have art teachers. And a lot of times the art is left up to the classroom teacher. So they don't have designated people to teach art. So it's really great for us to be able to go into some of those schools that don't have access to art and provide that weekly or bi-weekly access. Arts and medicine. So Arts and Medicine program focuses on incorporating engagement with the arts into the healing process. Prior to COVID-19, these interactions took place in the chemotherapy and treatment center of the Cabell Huntington Hospital's Edwards Comprehensive Cancer Center, St. Mary's Medical Center, and the Hoops Family Children's Hospital. During COVID, we transitioned to a tote bag program. You can see a lot of those images here. Their bags were full of art supplies and a museum workbook that were delivered to the 3 locations. We are really grateful to the Palatine Foundation because they actually funded this project for us. And so we've been able to do that for several years now. We are getting ready to transition to going back into the hospital. That's right after COVID. It was kind of hard to get back into the hospital. So we're hopeful that we're going to be able to do that again. But through Arts and Medicine, patients engage in creative projects designed to allow them to express themselves, their emotions, and hopefully reduce the anxiety created by their medical conditions. The education, that workbook that we put together, the education department during COVID, everyone was doing things differently during COVID. And so we had lots of free time on our hands, really. But so we put together all these projects, put them into a workbook, and put them out there for the hospitals to use. And so it was really kind of a nice way to, bridge that gap of not being able to go back into the hospitals. Artworks. So Artworks is a national award-winning program that was developed in 2000 to combat youth violence and provide positive alternatives to teens. The program provides project-based learning led by HMA teaching artists. For many years now, the teens created public sculptures, which are now located throughout the community and on the grounds of the museum. One of the program's most impactful projects was called Building Blocks, which is a 28-foot aluminum sculpture erected at the foot of the Robert C. Byrd Bridge at 6th Street. And you can see, I know it's kind of tiny, but that's the picture on the right-hand side there is the Building Blocks sculpture. Building Blocks was honored with the National Award of Merit from the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment. And this award was given jointly to the museum, the Huntington Housing Authority, and the City of Huntington. So regardless of the format of the project, the teens are provided with opportunities for mentoring, as well as exposure to a wide variety of materials and processes. So this program currently lasts for 6 weeks. We bring in a group of students. Right now we're working with the Cabell County Youth Reporting Program. And so they come to the museum and they're currently gonna work in clay. It actually starts Tuesday. This session starts Tuesday. And so we have two clay artists that they're gonna get to work with, and both, one teaches in the field at Morehead State University. The other one happens to be my husband, who's a clay artist too, so just, slid him aside. I did get permission first.
He's very good.
He's a pretty good artist, I'm not gonna lie. But he's been doing pottery. He grew up in the Cabell County school system and started doing pottery when he was 16, and he's now in his 50s. So he's been making pots for all this time. And so felt pretty confident that he would be able to. He used to teach at Shawnee State University too. So we're really looking forward to that. It's a great program. It's really rewarding for us as well, as the students, I think, because we get so much out of it as well. Flip the page. All right. Classes and workshops. Yay. Through classes and workshops, the museum provides opportunities for learners of all ages and abilities to explore a range of creative activities guided again by HMA teaching artists. I'll talk about them here in a minute. Our programming includes courses in drawing, photography, painting, printmaking, and clay. And through our extensive clay program, we are fortunate enough to work with the Cabell Wayne Association of the Blind. And that is just a phenomenal class because you've got people of all site levels that come into the museum to take a pottery class. And some of them just want to work on the wheel and make and throw pots. Some of them just want to do hand building activities. And so the teacher this last time who did it, she was just so thrilled for the opportunity to be able to work with this group of students. So it was really great. And then right now we're working with adults. We used to work with teens, but right now we're working with adults. They just don't really have a lot of teens in their program right now, is what I've been told. So our well-equipped studios provide a welcoming space for students to discover, to learn, and create. So you've heard me say HMA teaching artists. Teaching artists are really vital to our programming. We would not be able to conduct as many activities or reach the number of people that we do without them. So our education staff really only has 3 full-time people and 1 part-time person. And I know compared to some of the museums out there, that's like a huge number of people. But for us, it still feels really small. But we're a good sized staff. We have about 18, 19 full-time people now. Well, we're up to 20. We have 20 full-time people now. And several part-time people. And then we employ a lot of these teaching artists to do a lot of our educational programs. So teaching artists are members of the community that are brought in to teach a variety of programs like classes and camps, after school. They're all working artists or teachers, many coming from our local school system to local college campuses. Some of them have taught with us for about 30 years now. I've got one woman who has been teaching there for over 30 years. And she's a riot. She is just a fun person to be around. Lisa. Yeah, Lisa Walden. She is our painting teacher. And then some teachers are really new. This is their first season teaching. So see how they do. I'm sure they're going to do great. So the Walter Gropius Master Artist Series. In his remarks at the groundbreaking ceremonies of the 1970 addition to our facility, the famous Bauhaus architect Walter Gropius, who's the designer of HMA's building and studios, stressed the importance of workshop education as part of the gallery experience for the future generation's creative attitude. That's a mouthful. It was this speech and working with Walter Gropius that inspired the museum's board member, Alex Booth, to create the Walter Gropius Master Artist Series. This program celebrates the spirit of the Bauhaus by allowing students to learn from established professionals in a workshop setting. For more than 30 years, artists have been leading workshops in a variety of media, giving free public lectures, having exhibitions at the museum. These photos are from our most recent Gropius artist, Sarah Pike. She's a Canadian clay artist. And past artists have included sculptor Judy Pfaff, painter Hung Liu, graphic novelist Matt Madden, and Jessica Abel, to name a few. We've had so many people working in a variety of media. It's been unreal. We have a hallway down where our education offices are, and we usually make a poster for the Gropius artists or a postcard for them, and we get them framed. And so you can walk down, and it's just this history lesson in artists that have been to the museum. And the museum also tries to collect a piece of work from each one of these artists. We haven't always succeeded, but we have quite a contemporary collection of art because of the Gropius program. And particularly in clay, we do see proportionately more clay artists because we have had an artist in residence who works in the clay program at the museum. And so we tend to bring in a lot of clay artists. So you might be curious, how exactly did the museum secure Walter Gropius as our architect? So in the late 1960s, the museum was to receive an extensive collection of art known as the Daywood Collection, which includes important works of American art, particularly American Impressionism. To solidify receiving this gift, the museum also received a $1 million gift, I guess, from the Grace and Henry L. Doherty Charitable Foundation to build an addition onto the museum, which was supposed to house this giant collection. The Daywood collection is over 300 pieces of art. But who was going to design this addition? So in steps, HMA board member Eloise Long. Mrs. Long was vacationing in Arizona at the same spa as renowned Bauhaus architect and Bauhaus school founder and architect Walter Gropius and his wife. They struck up a friendship, and Mrs. Long approached Gropius about designing the addition to the museum. And so it has always been reported by Mrs. Long that Gropius said, "For you, Eloise, I will do anything." Take that for what it is, but it's a story we tell. And thus the Architects Collaborative, which was headed by Walter Gropius, was employed to design the addition of the museum. We are the only fully realized Gropius designed museum. But did you know that three actually, of West Virginia state parks feature designs by Walter Gropius? Hawks Nest State Park, Pipestem State Park, and Twin Falls State Park all have designs by Walter Gropius. So it's really interesting that he came in to do the museum, and then also these other projects just sort of fell into place. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. If you go to Pipestem Museum, there's a little plaque that has Walter Gropius's picture on it and a little story about it. Pretty cool. Community events. So community events work to introduce large numbers of children and parents to the museum and its programs through engagement in art activities at established community events throughout the year. By partnering with local organizations at events like Funkfest, the Downtown Huntington Art Walk, the Valley Health Community Health Fair, or the Robert C. Byrd Institute West Virginia Makes Festival, the museum advances our mission to bring outstanding arts opportunities to the community while helping other worthwhile organizations further their missions as well. This collaboration positions the museum as a vital community resource and a strong civic partner for groups like the United Way of the River Cities, the Cabell Huntington Libraries, City of Huntington, and the Marshall University Sustainability Department. So we work with a lot of different organizations, and we do community events pretty much throughout the year. January and February are really our slow community event time. June, things kind of kick up into action because we work with the libraries. This summer, we're actually going to partner with the Lawrence County, Ohio libraries as well. So we've gotten in there, but we're going back to all the Cabell County libraries. I don't know yet if Huntington is going to continue their Downtown Huntington Art Walk. I hope they do, because I think it was really successful last year. So I hope that they do it again. But these are some pictures from different events, the Downtown Huntington Art Walk events that we did. So, yeah, it's fun projects. We were set up, one time it was raining so badly that we had to move our station to under the, where the movie theater is, Pullman Square. So we were kind of right by the movie theater. So that was kind of a fun evening. Saturday Kids Art. Saturday Kids Art promotes healthy families by providing activities designed to allow parents and children in grades kindergarten through 5th grade to explore creative self-expression together. This weekly free 2-hour event sponsored by the Hoops Family Children's Hospital and guided by those HMA teaching artists provides 2 art projects to inspire children and parents to engage in a shared art experience. It's really great fun. Parents can leave their kids, but most of the time the parents actually stay with the children to work on the art projects, which is really kind of neat to see because, you know, we have sort of a form, you know, if if you want to leave your kid, make sure you give us your phone number so that we can call you if something were to happen or if something came up and they really want to go home and don't want to make art anymore. But most of the time, parents actually stay with the kids. And so the teachers are really great. So each week, families throughout our region look forward to sharing this designated time.
It's my favorite.
And just think, when your son is older than one, he'll really be able to
Mhm.
participate. So Saturday Kids Art is taught by two of our teaching artists, Charity Baker and Caitlin Donnelly. They were both art education majors at Marshall University. And they now teach in the school system. One teaches elementary, one teaches high school. So while they were in college, they took part in an art education course called community-based learning. So community-based learning brought art education students to the museum as volunteers. So they got to shadow tours, they assisted with other programs like Saturday Kids Art, and did various tasks for the education department. We have in our education gallery, which I'll talk a little bit about later, we used to have a collection of chairs that were painted like different artists. We had a couch that was done up like Starry Night, we had a Georgia O'Keeffe chair, and we have a bead chair that just has all these like thousands of beads glued to it. And I remember Caitlin's class, we were, I guess, short on tours or something, and so her class redid the bead chair, so glued, because the beads fall off all the time. So they re-glued the bead chair, but they also made a glitter stool.
Oh.
I know, I know. We don't have the glitter stool anymore. The glitter stool was not ever allowed into the museum. We did it in one of the studios. It was a fun project though. So it's through this partnership, through the community-based learning program, that I actually got to meet Charity and Caitlin and then hired them to come work at the museum. And they've been working for the museum for close to 10 years now. It's been a really, I'm so grateful for them because I know I can rely on them. I don't have to worry about Saturday Kids Art, like, it's happening right now. And I'm just like, oh, they're doing their thing, they're having a grand old time. And the first image, this wall, they put up all their projects on the back wall of the studio, so you can see like the whole year's worth of projects that they do, which is great fun for me because I'll go in there and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I could make that for after school. So it's very helpful. So we also offer summer camps. So summer camps have been offered at the museum since the 1950s. They are designed to engage children of all ages. Our pitter-patter art and young explorer camps focus on preschool aged and younger children. Almost old enough for teen. They encourage active engagement and creativity during the early years of development. I like to call the pitter-patter art class a hot mess class because we set it up in stations. So there are just these different activities set up throughout the room. And the kids just kind of, on their own with their parents, kind of go from activity to activity. And it's just a great mess of fun. There's like shaving cream and gel and paint daubers and just all kinds of fun, messy things. And the great thing is you get to make the stuff, but you don't have to clean up. I mean, we have to clean up after. They don't have to clean up after it. So it's a whole lot of fun for the kids. We also offer art, nature, and STEAM camps. STEAM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, for engaging elementary age students in activities to expand their skills and knowledge. We offer a clay camp for middle and high school students, provides instruction in hand building and wheel throwing techniques for students who have a serious interest in art and want to develop their skills. Here we just have a few more pictures. I love this one picture. There always seems to be a tie-dye project that happens every summer, whether it's all the classes that do tie-dye or just one of the classes that does tie-dye. But I came out to the back studios one day and saw this like laundry line of clothes hanging because they had brought t-shirts, some of them had brought socks, they brought pillowcases, you name it, they brought it. And so the teachers just strung it up so that it would all dry. And I just thought that was the greatest image ever. Just thought that was so much fun. Tours, yay, tours. This is where I started at the museum. I started as a museum and schools coordinator in 2010. And so tours are really kind of my background, my super interest, I guess you'll say. I still have a very big hand in the tours at the museum. Haven't quite let that go yet. Don't know that I ever will. But the tour program impacts today over 5,000 individuals each year. About 75% of the tours that we provide are for school groups in the tri-state region. So we reach Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia. For many of these students, the elementary school tour of the Huntington Museum of Art is their introduction to fine art, and the experience impacts and shapes their understanding of art for years to come. There have been studies done that say that people who visited museums as children are much more likely to be supporters of museums as they get older. So that's always good. We always try to make sure that those first interactions are really good ones so that they'll come back later on and hopefully donate money. Right? Because, you know, we all need money. In 2018, the museum was awarded the Governor's Award for the Arts in Education for our tour programs. All tours presented to pre-K through middle school students are interdisciplinary experiences designed to meet state curriculum standards. In 2019, we were able to give a presentation at the National Docent Symposium in Washington, DC, about our first grade tour called Kidlit. Kidlit brings together visual art and reading language arts as students who make a little book about their visit to the museum that incorporates the elements of art: line, shape, color, texture, and form. Students practice their reading language art skills while creating their books, and books are taken home and provide a memento of their field trip, but also a talking point for families. So parents can ask, you know, what did you do today? How was your field trip? And the kids can show them their little book about the museum. I often joke and say, well, when you take it home, you can read it to your dog or your cat, and it usually gets a chuckle out of the kids. And then I usually find out all about their pets and how many, you know, like, you know, horses or pigs or, you know, other animals or goldfish. So in addition, tours for high school literature students, talented and gifted students, and homeschool students provide specialized education art interactions to meet the specific needs of the audience. Our program includes STEAM-based learning opportunities that focus around the science of ceramics, integrative tours which incorporate visual art, music, and dance, and our very popular Fourth Tuesday tours, which I will talk more about in a minute. Our visual art, music, and dance tour we have been doing since the 1970s. It's had different iterations. Before I got to the museum, it was very much a classical music. It was done by the symphony. There's a lot of ballet as the dance form. Then when I got there, we switched things over and made it a little bit more contemporary. We employ Steve Hall, who is a percussion professor at Marshall University, and we brought in a contemporary dance group, Fourth Avenue Arts. And so they do 3 different segments of the tour now. And so one is focused on African dance and music. The next is a more contemporary kind of dance music combo. And then the third, we kind of bring it back to Appalachia. And so Steve plays the spoons and they kick buckets and dance. And it's really fun. It's really, the kids get quite a kick out of it. So tours are conducted all year long by the Huntington Museum of Art's volunteer docents. Tour guides, or docents, have a long-standing history at the museum. You can see from that photo on the left-hand side. And from the very beginning, volunteers have been crucial to the success of the museum, and that certainly continues today. Currently, we have approximately 30 docents who are trained on exhibitions, gallery tours, and touring techniques. New recruits are always welcome, and we are always hiring. Docents are often referred to as the lifeblood of the museum. They work with all age groups, see thousands of visitors, and love the institutions that they volunteer for. In 2010, we created an exhibit to honor the docents called Docent Select. Each docent was given the opportunity to select a work of art from the collection to be included in the exhibition. They worked really closely with the curatorial staff. They researched their pieces. They even wrote their own labels. They really had this big sense of ownership to this exhibition. And this was right as I was coming to work at the museum. They had just installed this exhibition. And so like my first week at the museum, we had the opening for this exhibition. And it was so great. It was such a great introduction for me. And I still associate the art piece that the docent chose with the docent because it just made such an impact. So in 2011, we were also, again, attending the National Docent Symposium, which is a every other year conference that happens throughout the United States and Canada. And so we presented a session on this idea, this tour that we did. And so we later learned that the YAM, the Yellowstone Museum of Art, or Art Museum, yeah, Yellowstone Museum, sorry, took our idea to heart and honored their volunteers and created their own docent select exhibition. So that was really fun to hear, because at the next time we went to a docent symposium, we sort of met up with them and they were like, oh yeah, we did your thing. Oh, very cool. All right. Fourth Tuesday tours. So you don't always need to dress up for Fourth Tuesday, but sometimes it is totally appropriate. The Fourth Tuesday tour series at the Huntington Museum of Art offers a guest speaker, a guided tour, or other special event on the fourth Tuesday of every month. Admission to Fourth Tuesdays are free, and there is usually a light reception following the program. We often joke that we will become caterers when we retire from the museum, because we now know how to cut cheese and arrange veggie plates and all sorts of fun things like that. If you ever want to know, have you ever seen a butter slicer? It's this little tool that it looks like a miniature cheese slicer, but it has multiple like lines in it. Take a block of cheese, take your butter slicer and just run it through it, and it cuts the cheese perfectly every time. My catering tip. If you don't walk away with anything else, you want to buy a butter slicer. So this is actually Charity and Caitlin, who teach our Saturday Kids Art program. And this was for one of our Halloween events that we called Museum, which was really fun. And so they got dressed up in costumes like artists. Caitlin is Frida Kahlo, and Charity is yes, thank you. I always get her name.
I don't know how to say
pronounced,
it right.
yeah. But so for that particular night, we did trick-or-treating throughout the museum. So you would go to different stations throughout the gallery, you'd learn a little bit about a piece of art, and you'd get a treat, whether it was a sticker or a piece of candy, whatever it was. And then we also offered art activities as well. And the food definitely had a Halloween slant to it. We made like witches' hats and witches' broomsticks, and take those bugles and dip them in chocolate and call them witches' fingers. Very, very fun. So Fourth Tuesdays really started as a way to bring more adults to the museum. That was the whole concept, the whole idea of it. And now it has become a very family-friendly affair. Oftentimes there is a hands-on art making component along with it. So we have hosted nearly 150 Fourth Tuesdays since its inception in 2011. Some memorable Fourth Tuesdays include our conservatory tasting tour, which focuses on the agricultural plants grown in the conservatory, like the banana, the chocolate, the stevia plant, and the coconut. Our current conservatory director, Josh Hamrick, actually grew the first coconuts ever grown in West Virginia in our conservatory. So it's pretty cool. And we actually have a couple of them growing right now that I think are ripe, and we need to pull them down and crack them open. We also did a tour called the Drunken Botanist Tour. Again, focusing on the conservatory, but this time featuring plants that can be fermented into alcohol. So that was a 21 and over tour. Definitely, because we did things like tap tequila and rum, because we have an agave plant and sugarcane plant. The Mad Hatter's Tea Party Museum, which I talked about. And then there was that one time when 1,000 people showed up for a Fourth Tuesday tour. It was a Harry Potter themed tour.
You
And
couldn't
you would
park
think,
anywhere.
You could not park anywhere. You could not get into the museum. It was insane. But the crazy thing was, this was actually the 7th iteration of the Harry Potter tour that we had done. We had done 6 of them leading up, like we did one for each year of Harry Potter, school and books. And so this was the 7th. This was like the last one. We were done after this. We were like so
Really
not
done.
over Harry Potter, but we were done. And then we were really done. And so it just was so crazy. We couldn't figure it out. I mean, each one of the other tours was well attended. We had hundreds of people that came to each of those tours. But this particular one, it was revolved around Christmas instead of like, usually we did it in October. This year we did it in November, like the end of November after Thanksgiving. So it had a Christmas theme to it. So we're like, maybe that was it. We really have no idea. But we ran out of food. We ran out of magic wands. We ran out of everything. People were elbow to elbow. But the best quote of the night came when our receptionist was up front and she had the counter and she just kept clicking and clicking and clicking as people just kept coming through the door. And so these 2 women came up to her and they were complaining, I mean, understandably so. It was just insane. We had no idea that this was going to happen. So they were complaining, and she just thought they must be so unhappy to take the time to come up to her and to complain to her. So she was apologizing to them. And they turned back around to her and they said, I didn't say we had a bad time. And it just became this like quote that we go to all the time now. I didn't say I had a bad time. But it was so funny. It was such a night. And so now we talk about Harry Potter. I was told the next day I was never allowed to do a Harry Potter event ever again. I was like, not a problem. Fair enough. I don't know that I ever want to do a Harry Potter event again. But it was, I mean, it was great. Kids got dressed up, people dressed up. We had, for that one, we had partnered with the 4th Avenue Arts crew again, and they were doing dramatic readings in the gallery spaces in front of different artworks that, you could relate to Harry Potter things. So it would have been nice if there were less people, but we'll take it. It's our story and we run with it. But I didn't say I had a bad time.
Can I interrupt and brag on Cindy? So started the 4th Tuesday program, and it is also award-winning.
It is, yes, it is award-winning too. We had the opportunity to, we go to a lot of docent symposiums. We have a lot of docents. We have an endowment that helps fund these trips to the National Docent Symposium. And so they give us, it gives us the opportunity to go. And so with it being every 2 years, it sort of sends somebody new. And over, since I've been at the museum, we've had the opportunity to give at least 4 or 5 presentations on things. And so the 4th Tuesday tours was one of the presentations that we did. And so we've come up with some interesting things. We play Clue at the museum. So we've turned the Clue board game into an actual 4th Tuesday tour. So people dress up and act as characters, but we switch out, it's not Colonel Mustard in the firearms gallery. It's, Dr. Tuma, who gave, artwork to the museum, hanging out in the firearms gallery. And, one year, I think he was actually the killer. I felt really bad about that because we made cards and we just randomly, picked everything and you slide it in the envelope and you don't know who's, who at the end is the killer or what they're using, but we used pieces from the collection to be the weapons and the galleries became the rooms on the board game. And so it was really fun, but yeah, that got us some attention at the National Docent Symposium. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Getting all right. Just a few more, I promise. See, I thought I'd be done really quickly, but stories. Oops, I skipped ahead. Tri-State Elementaries. So Tri-State Elementaries initiative brings art education to regional classrooms across the 7 counties in the Tri-State region. We provide educational support for which school funding may not always allow. Again, we go into some of those counties that don't have art classes. Through a participatory discussion guided by, again, our teaching artists, and enhanced by images of artwork from the collection, students explore STEAM-based learning concepts. In its current iteration, students create a 3-dimensional moving fish from construction paper. Through this activity, they engage in conversations about animals and habitats while applying math, geometry, and physics as they create art and learn about the principles of visual art. Okay, so those are our 9 museum making connection concepts or initiatives. But there are several other things that are really important, I think, to our community. So we'll talk about them quickly. Portfolio, which is happening currently in the process of being exhibited. Our yearly middle and high school art exhibition, which showcases the exemplary artwork of students in the Tri-State region. Each year, local art teachers select students' works to be displayed in one of the galleries. Awards are given to a select number of students in recognition of their outstanding work at the opening reception. So this past week, we've received artwork from all the teachers, and next week we'll install the exhibition. And then Saturday, the 12th, we'll have the opening reception. And this last year, we had 177 pieces that came in for the exhibition. This year, we're pretty sure we have over 200. So we've kind of grown that just a little bit this year. Studio selections. Again, another art exhibit, but every spring we host an exhibition that celebrates the work done by adult and youth students who enroll in the classes and workshops program. So if you come and take a painting class, you at the end of the year have an opportunity to have your painting hang in the museum, which is really kind of a cool thing. Participants can select up to 2 works to be displayed in this exhibition. The Young Illustrators Contest. The Cabell County Reading Council holds an annual contest for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Students are tasked with illustrating covers of their favorite book. The winners are selected. The works of art are then displayed at the museum for all to see, so they get their own wall space. And then this year, we also hosted a reception for the exhibit and recognition of the winners. So in addition to the winners, members of the Cabell County Reading Council, members of the Cabell County Board of Education, staff, parents, grandparents, and siblings all came out to support these artists. So it was a great evening. It was so much fun. It was really cool to meet all the kids and find out, why they picked this particular book. So, the Dr. Lawrence B. and Shirley Gang Memorial Lecture, to honor the wishes of longtime museum docent Shirley Gang, the Dr. Lawrence B. and Shirley Gang Memorial Lecture was established. This lecture series takes place every other year. The hope and goal for this program is to enhance the docent's educational experience by inviting guest speakers to speak about their artworks, exhibitions, and collections. This year, we are welcoming Karen Seibert. She's a granddaughter of Werner Drevis. He's an acclaimed artist and teacher who profoundly influenced the development of abstract art in America in the 20th century. And so Ms. Seibert will speak on Sunday, June 29th at 2 p.m. So we're really looking forward to that. The Education Gallery is a community art making space inside the museum. It's always open whenever the museum's open. If you want to take a break from looking at art, you can go make your own. So we have art materials and activities that are available there for visitors of all ages. And oftentimes we see more adults in there than we see kids in there. So it's really pretty fun. And then the last one is the Hilltop Book Fair. And the Hilltop Book Fair is a community favorite. This is a yearly used book sale. Happens the third weekend in August. The museum studios are transformed into a sea of books. You can see it's just books. Books. We get books all year long. People from the community come up to the museum, they drop off their book. Have you been to the book sale?
No, but we had a similar book situation.
Did you?
Ours got out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm remembering.
I'm bringing back memories.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
not good memories. Sorry. So thousands of people come to the museum to find the right book. It's amazing. People line up. I used to work retail, and it reminds me of Black Friday when people would come and get in line and wait for the books. So mark your calendars. This year, Hilltop takes place on Saturday, August 16th from 9 to 5, and Sunday, August 17th from noon to 5. Then I just have one more little paragraph to read to you all. Art changes lives. For a second grader trying to grasp science and math concepts, making a fish out of construction paper and learning how the parts help the fish swim can make geometry and physics fun and understandable. For a cancer patient in the middle of a chemotherapy treatment, creating origami can be a respite from the stress and anxiety of an illness. For at-risk teens participating in an after-school arts program that positively reinforces their role in society can be the intervention they need to help them find the right path. For families, a weekly interaction centered around creating art can help form and reinforce the bonds that are crucial for building and maintaining strong communities. Huntington Museum of Art's Museum Making Connections initiatives build a culture of creativity in our community by making moments like these possible. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you listening to me ramble on about that. Thank you all so much. Do you guys have any questions? Anything you want to know more about? Any more lessons on cutting cheese?
I just ordered one.
Did you?
I did.
They're not expensive. You can get them from Amazon.
Like $6.
Yeah,
Just ordered
it's
it.
totally worth it. We also joke we have a recipe. I call it Anna's famous spinach and artichoke dip. My friend Anna and I started working at the museum on the same day. She had long since moved on. She worked for the Huntington Quarterly magazine. She went on to become a school teacher, and now she lives in Atlanta and has 3 little boys. But we both started on the same day, and we were both tasked with making this 4th Tuesday thing happen. And in the beginning, we were given $40 as a reception budget. So it was like, we had to buy wine and it was like grapes and cheese. And so we came up with this recipe. And so I call it Anna's famous spinach dip. And I usually make it just about every time because it's just spinach and artichokes and mayonnaise and cheese. You just throw it all together in a bowl and it's like no fail. It's so good. Yeah, sorry, you had your hand.
So I'm with Arthurdale and
Oh, okay.
and we're we have classes and workshops for years, but we're trying to build that more, and a challenge we face, not, you know, as a historic site, museum, and not an art museum, is we have a really hard time connecting with instructors and artisans.
Yes.
And they are like wonderful people who are incredibly talented. We have a lot of challenges, like nailing them down and getting
Yes.
contracts signed, and
Yes.
like finding people who, you know, who are talented and willing to teach, who aren't coming from a really far distance. I mean, we're in your Morgantown, so like there's lots of people. So I'm just wondering what if you all have tips that you deal with artisans on a regular basis of kind of how.
Artists can be really flighty. I know, I'm married to one. And he can be really flighty. He has no business sense whatsoever. It blows my mind, you know, it does. It's so funny. But I think one good way to get artists involved, like if you have like one teacher that's really good, they have a network of people that they know. And so sometimes asking them for recommendations of who they might suggest teaching could bring in somebody good, somebody responsible, someone who will sign that contract, because you have to have them sign that contract. But yeah, that's definitely something I would suggest. And then doing some you guys probably use social media, I'm sure. Doing a little bit of research, maybe finding some people in your area and even putting it out on social media, you know, hey, we're looking for someone to teach this class. And if somebody, you know, maybe doesn't teach painting, somebody else might suggest somebody else.
Do you, you mentioned working with students at Marshall or like departments within Marshall. I hadn't even really like thought about using WVU students, but I guess I was in a mindset of like, I need established artists,
Yeah.
like know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not that students don't, but like they're still learning, or if they're graduate students. I had in my mind, like, I know
WVU has a master's in
Yeah.
art.
right, and I just didn't think about working with them, so
Yeah.
that was I appreciate that point. So
Yeah, no,
we'll
that's
see if
great.
that's a work for us.
Yeah, we use a lot of Marshall students for our summer camp program. Every year we kind of pull from that pool of people. So,
Yeah. There is a question in the chat. They said, I would love to hear from folks ideas on adapting this to history spaces.
oh, okay. Okay, so history people. Any ideas?
Yeah, it is, how do you adapt these ideas for history spaces?
I mean, we do a lot of the same types of like community events, just trying to bring people on site and have free opportunities that are family friendly. And my dad was swimming growing up, like if you have something for kids and you feed people, then people will be there. Like you need to check those two boxes. And that was mostly him talking about church events and like school events, but it applies to everybody. You gotta have something for kids and something for food.
Yeah.
I had another idea. Yeah. Classes and workshops. I mean, we have classes and workshops that are like artistic, but they're also like related to the history of our site, which is great. Something else you said, like jog my memory, but now it's things that we do.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to implement if you have a history space and anybody is familiar with doing interviews or oral histories. It's really easy to convert that to like a thing you can teach people of all ages. And people usually have like a grandparent or a neighbor that they want to talk to anyway, and using just like any sort of like any smartphone works for that kind of stuff. You don't have to like give people $500.
Something that we started, that I think we're gonna continue to do is that we do like, storytellers. We invite like Appalachian storytellers and people bring their kids there because it's basically like story time.
Yes.
And so you have, you know, all these families coming in, but they're also kind of learning an Appalachian tradition and participating in that at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. Love that. Yeah, what you were saying about the, you know, feed people and something for kids. When we first started the Fourth Tuesday tour, like food was not a thought at all. Like, you know, it was like, oh, we need to do this thing for adults. We need to have this like intellectual, come see the museum. We'll talk about the art type of thing. And we'll bring in droves of adults. And I remember Ann and I talking and we were like, you know, you gotta have food. Right? You have to have some sort of reception for people. That's what's gonna bring people in. So, yeah.
So sorry, there's another question in the chat,
Okay.
are these programs grant funded?
Some of them are, some of them are grant funded, some of them are endowment funded, and some of them just come straight out of our budget. So like the Saturday Kids Art Program is actually sponsored by the Hoops Family Children's Hospital. So we do get funding from them. Our tour programs, we don't actually charge any fees for any school tours that come to the museum. It's all free unless they want to do like an extra activity. Like when we had our clay artist in residence, a lot of times she would work with some of the school groups, and so we'd have to pay her. So we'd sort of pass that on, not always, but sometimes pass that cost on to the school. But so, yeah, but our docents, you know, our docents are docents, they're volunteers, so we don't have to pay them. But we do have to pay salaries of people. So it's a combination of the three things. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you. Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, Liz.
Do I have time for a
Oh,
question?
yes, you do.
Cindy and I could talk about this all day long, but I just thought it might be helpful for folks to hear. If you had to change up something or add something or take something away, how would you change the program? I mean, for instance, post-COVID, she's had a hard time getting these contracted teaching artists. Like a lot of them got different jobs, so they didn't come back. So some of the programs are not as robust as they were because she's trying to meet new people. And then also like arts and medicine, you know, isn't back to what it was. So anyway, some things have changed, and what would you change about anything, or I don't know.
I actually really personally liked the arts and medicine program being a tote bag. This is probably where you're going, right?
Well, I
Since
said
we've
the
talked about
benefits
this.
of both
Yeah,
ways.
I mean, I think it's really great to have that one-on-one interaction, because a lot of times it was just one patient and the one teaching artist. We didn't really ever get a lot of people participating. So I think, you know, and that is irreplaceable, I mean, having that one-on-one connection. So, you know, there's that, which is really great, but I think the tote bag program actually helped us reach more people, and sort of provided, you know, maybe you weren't in the mood when our artist was there to teach the class. You weren't having a great day. You weren't having, you know, the best time. You just didn't want to be around other people. The tote bag provides you that opportunity to really do it on your own time. And we would put, I mean, we had colored pencils in there, markers in there, everything you could think of, crayons. The workbook was like, you know, 50 pages long, had space for you to doodle on your own. I just really think that that was one of the great transitions that we made that I would like to keep going. It is expensive, I'll tell you that. So we were very grateful to the Palatine Foundation for funding that. And they actually stopped I don't know if I can say this, but I'm gonna, they stopped funding it because they really wanted us to go back to the in-person programming. So we've been in this limbo of, well, we have these materials, we can still give them out, so we still have this connection, but pretty soon we're gonna run out of those tote bags, and we have to make that transition back to in-person if we wanna get funding, or we just have to decide, maybe we wanna keep the tote bags going, and we're gonna have to come up with our own money, you know, out of our regular budget to pay for it. So that's one thing that I would definitely make some changes to. We were talking earlier about tour programs, because I went to that session about, you know, how to teach people how to do tours. And people were really surprised to learn that most of who we deal with are elementary school age children, and that even though we're in this college town and Marshall has an art program, that we don't actually see a lot of Marshall students for tours at the museum. And so that is one thing I think I'd like to try to figure out a way to change, is to bring, I think a lot of the art students are coming up to the museum, they're just not participating in like a guided tour. And so I think there's an opportunity as well. So, yeah.
Great. We'll talk next week.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Oh, I think you were lovely.
Yeah. If you guys want a handout, they're up here on the desk, so please help yourself. It has information about our report card and then all our programs on the back.
It related to the girl that was doing it is on our staff, and she is a recent grad. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I know about it, but they don't.
Yeah, it's mining.